Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this September 30th, 2022, a Friday. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad to have you guys here. Now, here's what I want to say. Do you remember me telling you guys that they were going to get rid of cash? Well, the first step in getting rid of cash is getting rid of certain notes within a government. That's what they do. They say, okay, you got a time limit to get rid of certain notes that we have, like in the United States. It's probably going to be the United States $100 bill and probably the United States $50 bill, right? Because when people put away cash, like might have some cash, people put away cash in their safe, or they might have it in their safety deposit box, whatever. They got cash put away right now. A lot of people in the United States have cash put away. Well, I was saying they'd probably give you 90 days, or they might give you 6 months to turn it in. Well, they're setting precedent, the central banks. And in the United Kingdom, they're setting a precedent right now. Take a look at this news release from the Bank of England, published on the 23rd of September 2023. This is the last week that our paper banknotes can still be used. The Bank of England will be withdrawing legal tender status of paper $20 pound notes and $50 pound notes over the 30th of September 2022. After this date, businesses will no longer be accepting these banknotes as payment. Okay? Just that quick. Bang. This is the big one, guys. It's starting here at the Bank of England, BOE. It could be spreading to other central banks very soon. And this is one of the reasons. They only give you a week. 1 week. And then, you know what they're going to do? You bring all those notes in, right? Say you've got 20,000 put away or whatever. Okay? What they'll do is they will, you bring all those notes in, they're going to be like, where did you get these? And, they're going to be a big tax thing then, right? They're going to get you. This is one of the reasons why I've been telling you guys, physical silver, physical gold, right? And do it suddenly. There's probably a rhyme and a reason why they're doing it suddenly like this. Look at what it says here. It says they're only giving you until 30th of September. They just do this news. Some people might miss this. They might have like a big stash of whatever cash put away. Maybe they saved it from their grandmother, give it to them, or maybe they, and they don't see this notice, and all of a sudden, boom, what are they gonna do? It's just bang, here, your cash is no good. The cash has never been any good. It's always owned by them. It's debt. It's a debt note owned by the central bank, and they can do with it what they want. They could make it illegal in one day. They could just say, well, tomorrow all those $100 bills in the United States are worthless. You didn't get our notice? Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Sorry. I mean, I thought they'd give them like 3 months or 6 months. And in prior shows, I knew that they were going to do this. It's just a beginning. India started it a few years ago, right? Now it's getting big. It's getting serious. But they're on a big effort. The big effort is to get rid of cash. Because if they can move into a no-cash system, how are you going to withdraw your money from the bank? They're cornering everybody. They're cornering everybody in this system where, through their crony capitalism, they're cornering everybody in this system where they're going to make the middle class disappear. They print money from nothing. Their money is debt. They got us into using it. Took them 100 years of finagling. Anyway, well, let's move on. A different story here. Ukraine. In the Ukraine this is dangerous, guys. Why this is dangerous is Russia's annexed these territories now, and they're declaring them part of Russia. They're annexing territories in Ukraine, and now Ukraine is calling an emergency meeting of security chiefs. Major decisions expected from this emergency meeting, and what they're really talking about is their response to Russia's annexing these regions. Ukraine's going to come in they're planning on coming in hard. Russia's going to deem that as a move against their sovereign territory. And under Russian law, they can use any means necessary then, under Russian law, to try to dispel that. Now, the West sees these referendums as staged and a sham, right? This is a very tricky situation right here, you know. It says Zelensky's office said the National Security and Defense Council will meet on Friday. It says important and I believe fundamental decisions for our country would be taken at the meeting. Zelensky said repeatedly that the so-called referendums are illegal and warned of robust Ukrainian response. This does not look good to me. Anyway, we're going to get in here to the markets, you know. I'm going to tell you guys what. Increasingly, the middle class around the world is like being like a cornered animal with nowhere to run. And increasingly, they're going to feel the pressure of their currencies being worth less and less, the costs of everything you buy going up and up, and your wages not keeping up, and taxes increasing. This is a recipe for disaster, because it's going to get to a certain point where the majority, what happens is, right now it's still a minority. Yes, 20 million people in the United States cannot pay their power bill correctly, right? But there's 350 million people in the United States, or I think 340 million people in the United States. And this still represents not the majority, but the minority. There's a majority line. It's 50% of the population. When this problem starts to extend past 50% of the population, that's when the problem increases and the people cannot feed themselves. And that's where we're headed. And I don't see any other way out. Just like the central banks are trapped right now, I don't see any other way out. The middle class is trapped. You know, and there's no way out of any of this. It's just going to keep getting worse and worse until the situation explodes in some sort of a desperate. It's going to be desperate when it happens. And the pressure's building. I don't think we're there yet, because we're not to the majority yet. We're not past that majority line, which would be when you pass 50%. Okay? Let's take a look at the markets. Cryptocurrency today. Well, I should do silver and gold first. I always do silver and gold first. Silver price is at $18.88. It's up 8 cents. Let's take a look at gold. Gold price is at $16.62. It's up $2.20 on the day so far. Now we'll take a look at cryptocurrencies. What we're seeing is a Bitcoin price of $19,268 and an Ethereum price of $1,321.84. Let's take a look at the Dow and see what the Dow is doing today. Let me refresh the page. It's up 6%, 6 points. But, you know, I'm going to tell you, today's one of those days where it's kind of riding the line. It's still in a bear market, and, you know, I'm going to tell you guys what, this bear market's not going to end until the Fed pivots. Now, the BOE's pivoted. They just basically pivot overnight. I've noticed that about the central banks. They barely even announce it. They just come out the next day, and that's it. It used to be, I did on my shows that they'd make a big announcement and they'd tell the people what they're doing. They've bypassed that now, and they just do what they want to do. And you find out after they did it. You know? Okay. That being said, the Dow is kind of neutral today. Let's take a look at crude oil. It's down 1% today at down 83 cents at $80.40. Move index today, and we're seeing it drop back a little bit. Not a whole lot. Bonds and rates today. We're looking at the U.S. Treasury yields, kind of a mixed bag today. We're looking at the 10-year at 3.72 and the U.S. 30-year at 3.69. So the 30-year is lower than the 10-year. The 20-year, it's just so, there's so many inversions in the yield curve right now, I can't name them all. This is just a messed up system right now. And it's going to get worse and worse until, well, I'm going to tell you, you can only squeeze somebody so far. Like I say, the middle class is getting squeezed, and they represent the middle class and lower middle class represent the majority of the population. They're getting squeezed tighter and tighter. You're only going to squeeze them so far. And like I say, once you pass the majority of the population, which is the 50% mark, that are getting really upset and mad, that's when you get your really big troubles. I'll just call it really big troubles, you know, because what it is, and I've been talking about this for years, it's like a barn full of hay, you know, and in a drought, and the sun's been beating on it for days, you know, and all you need is a spark at that point in time, you know, and it goes up so quick once it's ready, once the fuel's ready. And in this case, it's the fuel is the people out there. And how, once you pass that majority mark, 50%, and they're all suffering tremendously together, well, it's ready then at that point in time. And, you know, I'm thinking right now, I'm just going to estimate in the United States right now, it's probably like 20 or 30%, you know, are finding it really difficult to the point where they're ready to explode. They feel like, you know, it's going to get worse for them until it passes the majority mark, while it moves from, let's just say it's 30% right now in the United States, you know, are finding really hard. It takes time. Like next week it might be 31%, and the week after that 32%. It's moving toward that 50% mark, you know, where it passes the majority of the people. Now those other people out there are still okay. They can still make what's called make ends meet. They can make their bills. But that's going to extend to them pretty soon as this thing progresses. And there's no place else for it to go except to progress. And so it's kind of a waiting game until the system erupts. It's like the fall of the Roman Empire right now, and we're watching it in real time, guys. Okay, so right now we're on treasuries. Let's take a look now at the DXY today. It's at 112.57, you know. And now I told you guys, you know, Brent Johnson's milkshake theory. It's been playing out, and that's why we've seen the dollar index go so high, you know, and it'll continue until the central bank pivot, which could happen overnight. I'm thinking that the market's going to drop a bit more down. I've predicted, my initial prediction was 26,000 before the Fed pivot, at around 26,000. Now I've predicted that around 21,900 is the mark where we're going to start to get collateral damage in the upper end of the financial system, in the form of margin calls and everything else, and the system starting to melt down at around 22,000. So if they stop at 26,000, they'll be above that point where a system will melt down. Where you can get a credit freeze. The credit freeze I've predicted is going to come in around a little bit under 22,000 on the Dow. Now I'm using the Dow as a measure or a metric because it's the big market, you know, Now, there's also a lot of these other markets, like the S&P 500 and the Russell and the Nasdaq and so on. I don't use those. I use the Dow I use the measurements from the Dow as my predictive analysis. Anyway, listen, guys. It's a tough world out there right now. Tough for all of us. We're all in this together. All of us ordinary people. And I really appreciate my viewers out there. And one of the reasons is I think the most part of my viewers, probably 99% of my viewers out there, are ordinary people, middle-class people. And this is rough for us, and it's getting rougher. And never forget who's responsible for all this is the central banks. They are Jekyll Island. There's a good name for it. It sounds like something out of a horror film, doesn't it? Jekyll Island. Jekyll Island. You see the marquee on the movie theater. The monster from Jekyll Island, Doesn't that sound like something? And this is what they created, was this behemoth monster that's of these central banks. It was said that what it would do to us, it said it would put us all into poverty ultimately. It was exactly true. A quote. And this land is the land is supposed to be for the people, not for the rich few who are able to squish us down into nothingness and create two classes, ultra rich and ultra poor, and then they can just basically put their foot on the neck of the ultra poor, and there's nothing you can do about it. This is evil. This is the monster. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.